Then we're going to be looking at more ways to simplify our radical expressions. Looking at our first one right here, we have negative 5x cubed y times the square root of 18x to the fifth y to the sixth. Everything that's on the outside here, I'm not going to mess with it until I've first simplified everything inside the radical. So inside my radical here, I have 2 times 9, because 9 is a perfect square. You always want to separate the numbers out for any perfect squares that are going to them evenly. X to the fifth, I'm going to rewrite that as x to the fourth times x. So I need to make sure I have an even exponent at any portion that I can. And y to the sixth is already an even exponent. Outside, we still have our negative 5x cubed y, just chilling out front. My negative 5x cubed y still chilling out front. I now need to go through and pull everything out of the radical that I can. That is a perfect square. Well, 9 is a perfect square, so the square root of 9 is 3. That portion's gone. X to the fourth is a perfect square, so that's going to become x to the second power, because we take our exponent and divide it by 2. That portion's gone. And then y to the sixth is also a perfect square, so that's y to the third power. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Inside my radical, I am left with a 2 and an x. I now need to go through and multiply everything that's in front of my radical together now. So I need to multiply my negative 5 and my 3. So that gives me a negative 15. Here I have x to the third times x to the second. So that means I have 3 of them and then 2 more. So I'm going to have x to the fifth power. Here I have y and a y cubed. So I have 1 and 3, that gives me 4. So I have y to the fourth power. Then my radical is just sticking here at the end. And our first one has been simplified. Looking here at number 2, I'm going to treat this like it is the square root of 64 g to the 18th over the square root of 8100 over h to the 20th. And we're going to simplify each one of these separately. So looking here, 64 is a nice, pretty, perfect square. The square root of 64 is 8. That piece is done. Now I've got to look at g to the 18th power. Well, 18 divided by 2 is 9, so I have g to the 9th power over 8,100 is a perfect square. We take the square root of 81, which is 9, and we put a 0 under it, so that's 90. So that portion is done. And then I deal with my h to the 20th power. So h to the 20th, well, I do 20 divided by 2, which would give me h to the 10th power. At this point here, I have to look at the fraction and see, can I reduce anything? Well, I have 8 over 90. I can reduce that. I can take a 2 out of each of them. So divide the top and bottom by 2. So my final answer for this one would be 4g to the 9th over 45 h to the 10th. In our next example here, we're not going to separate it out like we did in example 2. Let's take and simplify the stuff inside the radical first. So my radical is just going to be chilling there, and I'm going to say, hey, look, 3 here goes into 363 evenly. So let's divide. 3 goes into 363, leaving 121. Here, I have x to the fifth on top and x to the first on bottom. So if I have 5 and I'm going to take 1 away from them, I now have x to the fourth power. With my y's, I got more y's on the bottom than I do on the top. So this becomes y to the second on the bottom, and this is all still under my radical. Now I go through and separate it like I did in number 2. So I'm going to do the square root of 121 x to the 4th over the square root of y squared. Well, 121 is a perfect square, and the square root of 121 is 11. Done with that portion. X to the 4th is a perfect square. Square root of x to the 4th is x to the 2nd, because 4 divided by 2 is 2, over y squared is a perfect square, which gives me just a y, because 2 divided by 2 is 1, and there we have it simplified. Simplifying with division problems, you can separate them and simplify, or you can simplify first and then separate them out. Sometimes it's better to go this route. Sometimes it's better to go this route. It's only come through practice and experience. The more you do, the more you'll start to recognize. As always, pay attention to what you're doing, and good luck.